This is Jordan Edwards, and this is the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
Good afternoon. I am back with the incredible Sophie Sharp. Welcome back to the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, Sophie.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let me give a little reintroduction and backstory on who you are. So you are a professional jiu-jitsu athlete, high school student, honor student. My company, Mixology, sponsors you, and you've been doing an incredible job building your brand the past couple years since we met each other. You've since been sponsored by the likes of Eat Clean Bro and Jamie Giovazano. You are sponsored by Jocko Fuel and Jocko Willink and his company, amongst many others. And even though you are young in age, you are not young in business experience and going out there and carving your way and building your brand while you are a full-time high school student with a full-time wrestling schedule. And I guess while you're wrestling, a little bit of part-time jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm really good. Been busy, but a good type of busy.
Yeah.
So enjoying life.
What kind of busy is a good type of busy?
I've been shopping at Mixology a lot. So that has
We
been
like
fun.
to hear that.
And a lot of wrestling lately.
Yeah.
So just had my first off-season tournament Saturday and placed second at it. So that was a pretty good start off to the season. And just finished with 3 super fights in jiu-jitsu. So
Wow. So let's take it back for a little bit. Like, just give a little reintroduction for those of who might have missed your first podcast. Where are you from? You know, how old are you? What's a little bit about your backstory?
yeah, so I'm 16 years old. I'm from New Jersey. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a little over 7 years and wrestling for about 2 years. I started wrestling because I want to improve my jiu-jitsu, and I've loved it ever since.
Since you started wrestling and posting about it, it seems that that's been all-consuming in your life, and you've been spending a lot of time wrestling. When I started training jiu-jitsu, I really kind of started it because I had graduated from college. I had always been an athlete my whole life, playing sports, lacrosse, and I was on the ski team. And I had like a void in my life. I needed something to do. So I was like, oh, I'll try jiu-jitsu to stay in shape. But very quickly, it just consumed my life. And I wonder if a little bit of that is happening with you in wrestling, whereas you started wrestling to cross-train for jiu-jitsu, but now all of a sudden you may have fallen in love with wrestling.
Yes, most definitely. Ever since I started last year in high school, it's kind of one of the only things I've been doing other than jiu-jitsu. But I love it. So, and I know it's going to improve my jiu-jitsu in the long run. So
I saw you post something the other day that I was thinking. One of the podcast's guests on the Business Jiu-Jitsu podcast, Tim Hennessy, who has a wrestling academy down in North Carolina, I believe, C2X, Commit to Excellence. He's a Rutgers alum, and he invited me out to the Rutgers Penn State wrestling match. Penn State being the number 1 team in the country, Rutgers being a very good team, but not as good as Penn State. And I'm watching these matches, and I'm thinking to myself, man, there seems like there's a bunch of good opportunities for jiu-jitsu here, you know, and like, and I didn't know the rules of wrestling well enough to know, well, these are the best guys in the world. Why aren't they, you know, going for a rear naked choke, or why aren't they? And the other day you posted that and you're like, I wish I could choke this girl right now.
Yeah, it's in the beginning, it was a real struggle. I would like second guess myself with a bunch of things because people always assume that jiu-jitsu and wrestling are like brother and sister sports, which in some aspects they are. But like I had posted before, like if I went for a guillotine right then and there in wrestling, I'd get disqualified. So it's a struggle, but I learned to balance it.
Yeah. I saw in one of your videos that you seem to be utilizing the jiu-jitsu in wrestling with back takes and, you know, really good cross faces and kind of like, I would say like a modified version of the truck position, and using it in wrestling to kind of like assert dominance. But I guess it's just riding time because you're not going to pin the person that way, but
Yeah.
you're only going to annoy them and make them tired.
Yeah, it's good because if I'm tired, I know I can just go there and relax. So,
Yeah. So, what are some of the biggest differences between wrestling and jiu-jitsu?
for me, it would be the pace. Jiu-jitsu, especially in gi, it's very slow and you can kind of take your time with things. In wrestling, it's like nonstop. Like if you stop moving, you're gonna get taken down on or pinned.
Hmm.
So I really had to build my cardio a lot. Um, and I would say just learning different positions. There were some positions that I knew from jiu-jitsu to wrestling, but other ones, it's kind of like rebuilding yourself.
Yeah. Um, I saw a big improvement in your stand-up game, from where you started a year and a half, 2 years ago, and now the content that you're posting, your shots are getting faster and more
Mhm.
crisp, and it's just amazing how much you can learn in 2 years. Um, and I'm sure that you're in high school right now, so maybe you won't be able to connect with this, but I always like think of my life in like 4-year blocks, because in high school, you go to school for 4 years, and then college, you go to school for 4 years. And so I always try to think about that. Now, I've been working on the business jiu-jitsu book for over 3 years now, but it feels like nothing, and it's just amazing how much progress you can make when you kind of like track it that way. Do you like feel that your improvement in such a short period of time?
Definitely. Yeah, even a bunch of my coaches have said that just in like the short amount of time that I've been doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling, just from doing wrestling even, they've been completely shocked.
Yeah. It's it's an amazing thing. I guess that brings me to like one of the things that impresses me most about you. Since we connected almost a year and a half or 2 years ago now, or maybe even a little more. But that's approximately the time you were on the podcast first time. Um, we gave you this sponsorship from Mixology, and you have been unbelievably consistent, as if not more consistent than any person I've ever done business with. Whereas you post for your sponsors virtually every single day, you are building your brand and putting up content. And that's in addition to being a full-time student, full-time wrestler, jiu-jitsu athlete, coaching, doing private lessons for kids. What is different about you? Like, what gives you that kind of drive at such a young age to be so consistent?
I would say my parents. They keep on top of everything with me. Granted, I take care of my own social media, but they make sure, like, have you posted for this sponsor and have you posted for that sponsor? And they've just helped me a lot. So I would say that, and I want to keep my sponsorships. So if I don't post for them, bad things will happen. So I would say those two things.
Well, what gives them, like, where I got a chance to meet your dad, Evan, great guy. We'll talk about that in a little while, but what gives them the motivation to be so consistent? Like, is it a part of your family's culture? Are they in their own business? Like, where do they get, this drive for consistency? Consistency is a very challenging thing, and it's amongst the hardest things for people to learn. Most people don't have it naturally, and some people that do learn it, it's just so hard to do.
Mhm.
So I admire it so much about you.
Thank you.
So yeah, so where does it come from your parents?
I think they just wanna see me do good in life,
Yeah.
and they don't want me to go downhill at all, so I think if in their minds, if they keep pushing me, I'll only go further in life,
Hmm.
so I think that's where they get it from.
Where are your grandparents from? Or are they do they live in New Jersey as well? Or
They do.
yeah?
Yeah.
What's your background, your heritage?
I am mainly Jewish.
Yeah,
So,
same.
so they kind of grew up a little rough, so I think that's where they get their drive from, and
Uh-huh.
that's where my mom and dad get their drive from.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's like the third I was a Jewish person on the podcast in a row by accident. Like I was like, am I attracting other Jews? What is this? It's like I set out to do a podcast and bring everybody together, and I find all the Jews. It's like I didn't even meet another Jewish person who did jiu-jitsu for like years. That's so funny. Well, there isn't a cultural aspect to the Jewish religion and tradition that does instill consistency in education and sports and athletics and everything else. It's a part of the culture. It's not so much, it is a part of the religion too, but even it does start with our parents and our grandparents. And
Mhm.
my dad was the same way with me, not necessarily with my schoolwork so much because I wasn't the greatest student, but with work. He was so consistent about hard work and making sure I always had a job and making sure that I was always cognizant of making money and what things cost and teaching me about finance. And I'm so grateful for that because just like you, from a young age, those were my dinner table conversations. I was like, we would talk about those things even way back in middle school and elementary school. I remember talking about those things. And my mom tells a funny story. When my mom was in college and she met my dad and my dad's parents, he was in a small family business. And in my mom's family, my mom's from Brooklyn, my dad's from Long Island. In my mom's family, it was taboo to talk about money. It was taboo to talk about business. It was taboo to talk about politics. So when they sat around the dinner table, they would talk about how their day was. They would talk about the Yankees. They would talk about anything except for money. And
Mhm.
when she met my dad and they would sit around dinner, all they would talk about is business and money and politics. And my mom was so disgusted. She's like, this is terrible. But over the years, my dad always told me, if you don't talk about those things, how are you going to learn about them?
Mhm.
And that was
Definitely.
one of the reasons why I started this podcast, to talk to people about some of these principles and concepts. So I admire your consistency so much. And I guess my question to you is like, outside of your parents doing it, like what drives you? Like what makes you want to, wake up every day and hit the books and keep working?
Mhm. So I want to see myself do good, especially in my generation. We're all about the cell phones and video games, and for me, I didn't grow up that way with any video games.
Mhm.
So I've kind of learned to keep pushing through, and so I think that's where I get my drive from.
Yeah, that's amazing and rare.
Mhm.
It is rare, but it's not as rare as people think because at Mixology today, so it's 2023, we have 350 employees at Mixology, and a large amount of them, probably around 30% are high school and college age, primarily women. We do have a few men, but it's a women's clothing business, so it's mostly women. And I'm always blown away by how hard they work and how they value work and how they come to work and they want to get better and they want a future, they want jobs. And it's just an incredible thing. Henny, one of my team members, is listening in right now. Shout out Henny. And Henny, is a full-time college student. And then she was working on our sales floor. And now she's working in our office and she's about to start full-time in our office in May. And it's incredible to see the evolution of young people as you guys keep growing up and taking over the world. My dad said to me a long time ago, your generation is going to push my generation out of the way. And now I get to say the same thing to you. Like your generation is going to come up and you're going to push my generation right out of the way. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
No, I think as long as my generation and younger aren't so focused on like the social or not social media part, but like the phones and everything, because I mean everyone's attached to them. I'm not gonna lie about that. I mean, but I think as long as my generation below keep having the drive of older people,
Hmm.
I think We will blow you guys out of the park.
It's true. It's very, very true. And you get to do that now. You have a younger sister, right?
I do.
And she's following like right in your footsteps.
hmm
Did she start is she wrestling this season or doing jiu-jitsu? Where's her journey?
So she started jujitsu about 3 or 4 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and she will be wrestling next year. So I'm
Good.
very excited for that.
Yeah.
And my parents are always telling me how much my little sister looks up to me,
Yeah.
and that's another thing that keeps me, like, being where I am.
Yeah. Teaching her.
Mhm.
So what is it like when you are teaching your sister and the other young people? Because you teach a kids class occasionally, and you also do privates with young people.
Yes.
What's that like?
I love it. I love seeing the smiles on the kids' faces when I walk into the jiu-jitsu gym and all running up to me and trying to give me high fives and all that, and it makes me feel good about myself knowing that I'm doing something right in life.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely doing something right in life. You're a great role model for them. As a matter of fact, one of the another business jiu-jitsu sponsor, um, Neve Ross in the Scottish Highlands. She's only 11
Mhm.
and she looks up to you so much, and that's how she found the Business Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And you are influencing in a good way all of these people all over the world. I mean, does that like blow your mind that here you are, you're in high school and you have all of these people that are watching you and learning from you? It's such a beautiful thing. It's one of the good parts about social media, honestly.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of scary things about online and everything, but once Neve reached out to me, it blew my mind, honestly. I didn't
Yeah.
know that I was somewhat popular from that far away and that people knew who I was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the jiu-jitsu community all over the world is we're spread out, but it's tight. You know, there's like a
mhm.
common dialogue where I've traveled all over the world for work and for just pleasure. And everywhere I go, I bring my gi, I bring my rash guard, and I just drop in. And whether I'm in Paris or Mexico or Los Angeles or Germany, I drop in. And I was in Berlin last year. I'm talking to the guys on the mat. And we're just talking about all the jujitsu things that are happening. ADCC's coming up, and this Gordon Ryan did this, and Nikki Rod did that. And it's like, even though we're all spread out all over the world, we're all following the same sport so closely. And it's incredible that it's this tight niche.
Yeah. I have to say, jujitsu is probably one of the sports that they're the nicest people ever. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been to quite a few gyms in just a short amount of time, and all of them have been so welcoming.
Yeah.
So, and when I start, they don't know who I am. They're just like, "Yeah, hop on in."
Yeah.
So,
Where are you training primarily now?
I'm training at Bayshore BJJ,
Mm-hmm.
owned by Joe Dockery,
Shout out,
and
Joe.
yeah, and I couldn't be more thankful for him and what he does for me and my whole family. So,
Yeah. And that's where your dad trains too, right?
yes.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about being a student.
Mhm.
Um, it's like if you turn on the news these days, it's like it's crazy to see, the school violence, the shooting, like all this stuff. Like what is it like to be 16 years old in 2023 in America? Like what is the average day like?
Um, it can be scary sometimes, just because, like you said, the news, I mean, about almost close to every week, there's a school shooting somewhere. Thankfully, nothing like that has happened nearby, but
Mhm.
you never know one day. You
Yeah.
just walk into school and you're in lockdown. So
Yeah.
it's definitely scary. Most of the time, it's a good day, but
Do they do
yeah,
lockdown drills?
they do. Yeah.
Wow. And what happens like when you come in the morning? Is there a metal detector, security guard? Like what is it like when you walk into school?
So for my school, we're pretty nonchalant. We just walk in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been to other schools where there's metal detectors, security guards everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
bag checks, all of that. And I think that's almost what you need for high schools,
Yeah.
especially at the age that we are. We're kind of learning about life, and something could make someone mad, and that's how a school shooting happens. So
Yeah. How many do you have? Are you in a public school or private school?
I'm in a public school.
Public school. And is it a big school? Like, do you have hundreds of kids or even thousands of kids?
I think my graduating class, we have around 300, maybe a little over.
Okay, it's a medium-sized school.
Yeah,
But definitely, like, do you feel like you know everybody in the class, or there's people that you don't even know in your own class?
we're pretty tight-knit school, so everyone knows
Yeah.
everyone, whether you're friends or not. So,
Yeah. It's so interesting to me. I have two boys now. Axel's 4, Mac is going to be 2 on Sunday. And it's like I went to Axel's soccer game this weekend, and
mhm,
I remember being a little kid playing soccer, and I remember my dad. My dad felt so old. He felt like an old man. And now I'm there. I'm like, I don't feel old. I don't feel like an old man. I just feel like, myself. Um, but as I was standing there with all the parents and seeing all the kids, it was the first time I kind of like saw all the kids, and I was like, wow, these are the kids he's going to be growing up with. And he's going to know a
mhm,
lot of these kids for the next 10, 15 years. They're going to go to kindergarten together in the fall, and then they're going to be on track together for all these years. And so I was just thinking about this town that I'm living in now and what it's like to be a kid in high school. And I'm very lucky to have all these stores. I have 15 stores now. As you know, shout out Marlborough, New Jersey, where you were the other day. We'll talk
yes,
about that in a second. But I have all these stores, so I get to be a part of all these different communities in a certain way. And you know, I think, like, generally speaking, from my perspective at least, kids and students are still having like a nice life and good, but there just seems to be a lot more pressure on you guys today than
mhm,
there was when I was in high school. Do you feel that? Do you feel the pressures?
definitely. They're
Yeah.
more strict about grades. I mean, I remember my dad telling me all the stories about how he would skateboard in hallways in the high school and the teachers wouldn't care.
Yeah.
You know, you lay a hand on someone, maybe by accident, and you're suspended for a week.
Wow.
So rules have definitely changed throughout the
Oh,
years.
who could even keep up with the rules? And it's amazing. How do they communicate to you? Do they do like a lot of trainings and talk about what they expect in terms of like how to speak to people and how to touch people? Like, are you allowed to give high fives? Like, what's the general feeling in school right now?
I mean, in terms of like COVID and all that stuff, it's pretty much done.
Hmm.
Um, it's been done since like my freshman year, which was last year. We
Hmm.
had to wear masks then, but only for a half the year.
Yeah.
So it's nice to not have to worry about that and always having to have your mask above your nose and everything like that. Not that any kids really followed the rules with the masks,
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of like that, at least my school district, we kind of don't talk about that stuff because it gets very controversial.
Mm,
So they kind of leave it to if it does happen,
right.
and then
Okay.
they deal with it.
Right. All right. That's actually pretty good to hear. I'm happy to hear that. What kind of things are you learning right now? What kind of courses?
Ooh, oh, too much.
Too much?
For this semester, I have all my hard classes,
Yeah.
sadly. So learning all about the 1800s in
Y-
history.
Okay.
So
In the US or
so
like around the world, like the Napoleonic Wars, like that kind of stuff, or
mainly the US.
mainly US? Okay.
I'm in chemistry right now, so doing a bunch of experiments.
Wow.
So it's fun though. It's not that hard.
Yeah. All
So
right. Good. Are you still keeping up your grades, like straight A student, killing it?
of course, always.
I wouldn't expect anything less. So, all right. We had the special honor about a week and a half ago of getting together at the Eat Clean Bro Gala to support the Children's Specialized Hospital. It was down in Jersey, in your neck of the woods. I just opened up a brand new store. It's my 15th location in Marlborough, New Jersey. And a friend of the podcast and a friend in real life, Jamie Giovazano, hosted this amazing event. And I was very grateful for you and your dad to be my guest. I am so interested to hear what that event was like from your perspective.
Yeah, I thought, shout out to Jamie for throwing such an amazing event. As much as it was fun, you know, you had the dance floor, you had the raffle and everything. It was heartwarming. It was nice to see, especially in this day and age. I feel like not many people do foundations like this. So being able to see the kid Isaac there and him speak, I thought it was very nice.
Yeah. Was he someone that you're aware of? Do you know who that is?
I didn't know. First time seeing him that day, but even just that, I mean, he said just in a great speech as well as everyone there. So yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up a little picture for those who are watching this on YouTube. Here's a couple pictures Sophie posted. So here you are. Here's us.
Yes.
You and me. Here's Jamie Giovazano. You're here with The Situation from the Jersey Shore. And Frankie Edgar. Great seeing Frankie Edgar. What a guy. Unbelievable athlete. And then who's this in the middle? That
is Todd Frazier, the
Where's
baseball
he from?
player.
Oh, he's a baseball player. Cool.
He is.
And you won one of the gift bags, of course. Thank God.
I did.
Here we are again. Jamie. How great of a guy is Jamie Giovazano? Can we talk about that for a second? And his wife, Kayla. Are they special people?
They are probably one of the sweetest people I've ever met. I've only met his wife once or twice, and she is the nicest woman. One of the nicest women I've ever met. Yeah. She's so sweet. She's so inclusive. She made sure, both of them, made sure to go around to everyone that was there, and you would know there was a bunch of people that were there.
Yeah, hundreds of people.
Yeah, and they made sure they said hello to everyone.
Yeah.
So.
It's so important, you know, if you're going to host an event like that, you're probably already the kind of person who's going to care, but they went the extra mile to make that a really, really special night. But one of the things that struck me about that night and you is, as you looked around the room, most of the people in the room were like me, like in their 30s, you know, raising money and, you know, having cocktails and dancing. The only other high school student in the room outside of you, I think, was the one who was being honored, who was one of the unfortunate children had to go to the specialized hospital. And I think it also kind of goes to, like, you know, A, that you want to be there, but it's rare, you know, and then B, that you're comfortable to go rub elbows in this room and stand out and say, I'm here. So it's just something to really be admired. And I'm interested to know, like, how'd you feel in that room? Was it fun? Did you want to do it again? Like, what was it like?
It was great. It was an amazing experience. It was intimidating at first, seeing a bunch of adults, and then it was just me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I did know quite a few people that were there, so I got to sit with them and talk. But it was so fun. It was amazing.
It's I always advise people to get involved in their communities when you go into business or you move to a new town. You have to start supporting the people in that town and getting to know them. I've been lucky enough to do it not only where I live, but also in, like I mentioned, these 15 towns that I have stores in and beyond. I also have properties around the country, and I always did the same thing with my properties too. I try to get to know the mayor. I try to get to know local business people, the councilmen. I start to build a network of all local people who are going to help my store, like contractors and plumbers and electricians. And then you start to try to become friends when you do. It's like you want to do business, but at the same time, if you go beyond just, okay, a transactional business, then they are your best mouthpieces. They speak well about your business. They come back in and they support. And so I think that like there's an important lesson in that event too, which is like you have to be out there, and
Definitely.
you got to be out there. You got to be out there. You got to be talking to people. And like you got to be taking pictures with people. And what you seem to have, either by way of your parents helping you on the path or just naturally doing what feels right. I've advised so many people in their 20s and their 30s, all the way up to their 60s, to do what you're doing to find success. And sometimes they debate me. Sometimes they tell me why they're too busy to do it. And I'm like, there's no such thing as too busy. If you want to be successful, you got to get out there and you got to make it happen, and you got to, like you said, when you showed up, it was a little scary. You got to go outside your comfort zone sometimes and put yourself in situations to make it happen, and it's whatever you want to do. You just got to make it, you got to make it happen for yourself. And just really, really proud of you for doing that and stepping up and accepting my invitation to come and not only coming, but, making a little name for yourself over there.
No, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It was really, really, really cool. So tell me about, the rest of this year. What are some of the things you're going to accomplish?
Honestly, not as much as I would say the last time I was on here.
Mm-hmm.
Because sports are taking up so much of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's mainly the thing that I've been focusing on. But yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot more wrestling tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Probably taking a bit of a break on jiu-jitsu tournaments just because it's so hard right now to find opponents, especially at my age, weight, and belt. You don't
Yeah.
find many 16-year-old 120 blue belts.
Yeah.
So especially around here, you
Yeah.
usually have to find them in like New York and Pennsylvania. So it's definitely hard.
It's very hard. And just even being a blue belt at 16 is a remarkable achievement in and of itself. I know many 18-year-old green belts who are, they're great. Don't get me wrong, but they're fighting to get their blue belts, at a much later age. And so it's rare and it's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot to accomplish as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. Well, before we wrap up today, you have any questions for me?
No, nothing like
All right. Well, you know that I'm always available if you do. And to anybody else who's listening out there, to any high school students or college students, I have young people reach out to me all the time with questions because they have some business idea and they want to get started. And I'm happy to answer those questions. So please reach out and let me know if you have any questions at all. Sophie, it is a pleasure. I know that we will do this again probably many times over the years. I'm
Definitely.
so proud of you. I'm so grateful to sponsor you. And I'm so happy that we now have a store in your neck of the woods so that you could drop by and you don't have to go to New York City and my team doesn't have to be shipping you clothes. So don't be a stranger and keep in touch with all of your upcoming accomplishments.
Yes, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Anytime. It's my pleasure. Have a great day.
You too.